Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad-vyapta-dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Namah Pranavataye Shuddha-jnanaika-murtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Amid all this titiksha experience, we looked at two very key concepts yesterday. One to do with what is a Sakshi in the context of Brahman. And I think there is a lot of clarity that needs to come on that. That one verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Karmanya Karmaniya Pashet, Akarmani cha Karmaniyaha, Sabuddhiman Manusheshu. Not only Sabuddhiman Manusheshu, Sayuktaha Kritsna Karma Krit. That is the second concept. Kritsna Karma Krit. He is a Buddhiman, he who sees akarma and karma also he sees akarma in. He is a Buddhiman, and if he is a Buddhiman, is one who is able to see it from the perspective of Paramarthika perspective, from that point of view. It is not that you can physically take yourself out of this Jagat and put somewhere else and see, but conceptually, you have to understand that when one sees the truth, that can be seen only from the Paramarthika point of view. As long as we're seeing it from within the Jagat, there will always be these ideas of you, I, he, it, she, etc. Karta, Bhokta, etc. And as long as those are there, that perspective is still the perspective of Dvaitam. So without physically pulling yourself out of this, to be able to understand the Paramarthika perspective, where there is no you, I, no he, she, it, no karta, no bhokta, no karaka, nothing. And therefore nothing matters. It says he is a karmakrit, one who has done everything that is to be done. Acharya called him kritakrityaha. There's nothing to be done. And yet, things are going on all the time. The Sharira is there. Sharira needs to operate in this Jagat. Therefore, the idea of Sakshi. Without being Sakshi, Sakshi. I am not outside the system. I am here because everything here is I. I am none of them. So how do I see myself as a Sakshi? And once I'm able to see that, the I that I thought I was takes a different form in quotes, remember, and becomes Kritakritya. Those are so two important concepts one has to fully understand. That is why Shastra says, Uttishtata, Jagrata. Remember, this is Yamadharmaraja speaking, telling Nachiketa, and through Nachiketa to all of us. Uttishtata, Jagrata. Hey, wake up to the reality. Get up and see the reality. That reality you have to see while being in this Dvaitam Jagat, to be able to, for want of a better word, transport the I conceptually, cognitively, and see the whole Jagat from that perspective as non-existent. Therefore, you cannot even throw it away. Therefore, Mithya. Mithya automatically follows, and if Mithya is there, Satya is there. Uttishtata, Jagrata. But how do I do this? Approach a Shreshta Purusha, Prapya, work at gaining a Shreshta Purusha, a Jnani, who can unfold this for you. Varan Prapya Nibodhatha. Gain that knowledge, gain that ability to see yourself as pictured by Shastra. How the I itself gets rewritten. Sometimes people talk about capital I and small I. There is no such capital I, small I. It is just the I that I'm thinking about as an individual. That I is nothing but Chaitanyam. Chaitanyam is everything. Or other way around. Everything is that Chaitanyam. Therefore, I am none of these, but everything is me. With that, you become a Kathakrityaha. Prapya varan nibodhata. This stuff. It's like the razor's edge. And you try walking on the razor's edge. You know why that happens? If you have a flat surface, you put your entire weight on the flat surface, it gets distributed. But suppose the surface is very sharp, like the blade, then if you put your weight on it, it is all focused on that one point. That tough. Like the razor's edge. I don't know if you've read that book by that name, Razor's Edge by Somerset Maugham. This was written, I think, soon after the World War, or it is about the World War for sure, or then First World War, and traces the life of a pilot. And a lot of philosophical questions are discussed. Materialism, spiritualism, where does happiness come from? All those things that any philosophy discusses is all discussed in the form of a story. I read that, I remember when I was in school, because somebody gave me that book. He had won as a prize in a debate. Very tough reading. Can you imagine at the school level you're trying to read something? As it is, the subject matter is very tough. It is a tough subject matter. And the writing style was, what I recollect of it, was very tough. But he's picked us up, razor's edge, how you look at it. Uttishtata, jagrata, prapya varan nibodhata, shurakshadhara nishita duratteya. Duratteya, difficult to cross. Dukkhena atikramitam shakyah. Duratteya. Durgam pataha. Dukkhena gantum shakyah. Dukkham. And so say all the jnanis. We don't need jnani to tell us. We've tried ourselves. We've been trying. It doesn't easily register. It registers because you have thinking capacity. It registers in terms of the words. But to register in the mind as I, aparokshataya, to register, it requires shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam. Now you can see why Shastra repeatedly says there is no other way, no other pantha. This pantha is also difficult, but there is no other pantha. And if you not ready, there are enough obstacles to prevent one from understanding this. It's as difficult as walking on the razor's edge. Acharya writes a Bashyam on this, very simple Bashyam. We read that briefly yesterday. We will read it again and see what Acharya has to say about this. Anadividya prasuptaha
अनादिविद्या प्रसुप्ताः
tishtata he jantavaha
उत्तिष्ठतः हे जन्तवः
atmajnana abhimukha bhavata
आत्मज्ञानाभिमुखा
आत्मज्ञानाभिमुखा
भवत
भवत
anadividya prasuptaha suptaha. Those who are unaware of what is happening, as though you are in sleep, unaware of the reality, born of avidya. And that avidya itself is anadi. Anadi with avidya prasuptaha. Soaked in that anadi avidya, as though sleeping. In Hindi, there is a phrase which says, "Ghode bech ke so raha." Like that, we are totally unaware of what's happening, unaware of the reality. That's why the Dakshinamurti Stotram is beautiful. There are some very nice verses in that talks about the same thing. Wake up. And when you wake up, see the reality. See it from the Paramarthika point of view. Anadi avidya prasuptaha uttishtata. Lot. Wake up. Get up. Uttishtata. He jantavaha. We know that most people are in that state. And they don't realize that they're in that state. It is exactly like the Plato's metaphor we have seen. Plato talks about a group of people living inside caves. All they know are shadows. They know nothing else. The whole world is only shadows. Darkness. And they've been living their entire life there, developing whatever they want as community things and so on. Till one young fellow feels that this is cannot be the end. And goes searching. Somehow, after a long search, finds at the end of the tunnel a light, which nobody in this community has ever seen. Comes out and sees all those things which everybody's missed all these years. Colors and sounds and water, brooks running, birds chirping, flowers. And he revels there for a while. And then he feels that I should tell the others, look what you're missing. And with great difficulty, he finds his way back. And eventually, when he reaches there, he says, my God, you don't know what you're missing. Why, what? There's color, there is sound, there are birds, there are flowers, there are so many things. Everybody looks at him blankly because they can't relate to it. They're still in the Shushupti Sthanam as far as this is concerned. And then the group elders pat him on the back. We knew even from childhood he was a little weak in the head. That's all they do. What humanity does, it is there available. But we don't make use of it. So this avidya, which we are all beset with, we are prasuptaha. Hey, get up, uttishtata. Hey, jantavaha, uttishtata. Atma jnana abhimukha bhavata. Come face to face with Atma Jnanam. It is available, it's right there. In Swamiji's words, it's like writing on the wall. Why are you not looking at it? It's there, right in front of you. You're not seeing it. Atma Jnana Abhimukha Bhavata. Shastra is, I think, very compassionate. No Upanishad ever starts by saying, you are everything. You can never relate to that kind of statement in the beginning. But after Samshravanam and Mananam, when Shastra makes a statement, it begins to make some sense. And then when it says Uttishtata, we can relate to it. Uttishtata, he says, is get up from the anadi avidya prasupta. Those who are sleeping, get up. Ye jantavaha. That knowledge is available to you, it is right there. Jagrata,
Jagrata,
ajnana nidraya,
Ajnana Nidraya,
Ghora Rupayaha,
Ghora Rupayaha,
Sarvanartha Bija Bhutayaha,
Sarvanartha
Sarvanartha
Bhutaya,
Bijabhutayaha
Shayam Kurute,
Chayam Kuruta
Tishtata, and Jagrata, wake up. Don't stay in that state of semi getting up. And then let me sleep for some more time. Go back to sleep. Tishtata and Jagrata. Wake up, open your eyes, open your mind. Jagrata. This Ajnana Nidra. Nidra is also symbolical, Uttishtata and Jagrata also symbolical. Ajnana Nidraya. From the state of Ajnana, you have started by questioning the nature of I. And you have come to the conclusion that whatever conclusion I had drawn for I cannot be correct. At least I recognize my ajnanam, my mistake. Even if I don't know the correct way of looking at it, I started by looking at it and saying, recognizing my own mistake. Or ajnana nidraya. And there's ghora rupaya. From that samsara, which is ghora rupa. Why do you want to suffer all this? You are like that man struggling in the waters, seeing nothing but water all around, looking around, seeing other people also struggling. Till a wise man comes and says, what are you struggling for? And you say, if I don't struggle, I will sink. Into what? There is nothing to sink in. This huge body of water you're imagining is only your imagination. Kalpita. Because you're looking at it wrongly. The first time the wise man tells him, he says, please don't distract me. I'm trying to stay alive. I'm trying to find what little joy I can extract from life. Go away. Slowly he recognizes there is something that old man said. Till one day suddenly, till then his only aim was saying that I think I saw a small atoll there. Once I can reach there, I'm safe. I'll have no more struggle. And it does reach there, and there is no struggle. Suddenly everything looks hunky-dory. But that doesn't last. Water overcomes that also. Till one day he recognizes, it's pure cognitive recognition. Like, what water? There is no water. There is no such thing as samsara sagara. Till then, all his prayer was, hey Bhagavan, help me cross this samsara sagara. I will help you by making you recognize that there is no samsara sagara. Uttishtata, jagrata, ajnana nidraya, ghora rupaya, sarva anartha bija bhutaya. From this ajnana nidra, which is the very cause of all the problems. Sarva anartha bija bhutaya. From that, all the anartha, unwanted things that you've been suffering, from all of that, free yourself. Remove them. Kshayam kuruta. Oh my God, all this time Yamadharmaraja has taught this whole Atmajnanam by this process of looking at what is subtle, what is more pervasive, what is the karanam, and step by step guiding us to say, keep going, till you come to the point where there is nothing more to go to. There is no more karanam. With that, try and understand, go to a guru. Shankaracharya himself questions, Katham, how do I do this? How do I, Kshayam Kurta, it says. Remove that, get out of that. Katham? He himself answers. Prapya, upagamya,
Upagamya,
varan, prakristan, acharyan,
Varan, Prakrishtan, Acharyan,
vidaha,
Vidaha,
tad upadishtam,
Tadupadishtam,
sarvantaramatmanam,
Sarvantaramatmanam,
ahamasmi iti nibodhata,
Ahamasmi iti nibodhata,
avagacchata.
Avagacchata.
Katham, how do I do it? You can't do it on your own. Because you will always look at everything outside you. There are more verses in the next adhyaya you will see. How our entire focus is outward focus. And outward focus, you cannot get this. Because you're not looking at an object outside you. You look at you, the nature of you, the reality of you. How do I do this? Prapya. Here, prapya literally means gaining. But Acharya said, upagamya. Approaching, going to teacher. Who? Approaching who? Varan. Vara also has a meaning of Shrestha. Vara has several meanings. Then go to one who is Shrestha, praiseworthy. Prakristan, Acharyan, one who can unfold this for you. Tadvidaha, one who's already understood. Tadvid, Purushavid, Brahmavid, Tadvidaha, approach such a Purusha. Prapya Varan. What do? Having gone to a Shrestha Purusha, ask for this knowledge. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Ask for this knowledge. Like the old man who came to the person struggling in the waters. Don't shoo him away. Welcome him with respect. He can get you out of this. Ask, inquire, do service. Prakristan Acharyan Tadvidaha, and going to him. Tad upadishtam. Listen, do Shravanam. Ask him for that knowledge. No guru will on his own say, come, I will tell you. It will never register. He only says, when you go and ask, tad upadishtam, what is the upadishta? Sarva antaramatmanam ahamasmi. Our Cholli Kurta, then what he is taught, that which is sarvantaramatmanam. Recognize that which is the Atma of everything, everybody as I, including your body, mind, sense complex. Recognizing that there are two different orders of reality, therefore everything in the reality is only nothing but aham. That aham is Chaitanyam. That Chaitanyam is none of these. That aham is none of these, but everything is I. Swapnavat. Tad upadishtam sarvantaramatmanam ahamasmi iti nibodhata. Learn it like that, understand it like that. When the Shrestha Purusha unfolds it, do manana. Compare it with what you know. Find out where the difference is. Reconcile the differences. And make that knowledge firm. That knowledge is ahamasmi iti. Aparoksha jnanam. Ahamasmi iti nibodhata. May you understand. Avagacchata. Understand it the way it is taught by the Shrestha Purusha, Acharya, Acharyan upagamya tad upadishtam sarvantaramatmanam ahamasmi iti nibodhata. May you know, may you understand. Avagacchata. So this is all looking like, all lot. Saying do this, which is not typically what you would find in the Jnanakanda. Jnanakanda says this is what you are. This is the truth. Understand it, then nothing else to do. Here, in this particular mantra, Yamadharmaraja is telling us Shastra's words, wake up, get up, wake up, do Shravanam Mananam, understand the Upadesha that be given. By doing Mananam repeatedly and arriving at the final thing, reconciling the apparent differences. I remember early days when Swamiji used to talk negatively about some of the other religions. I thought I was a great secularist. I was wondering why Swamiji is doing this. Why can't we all say every religion is the same? But fortunately, I had the sense to say that, to not walk off saying that I don't want to hear this, because it's so contrary to what I think I know. I said, what he's teaching, there has to be something there. Reconcile with what I thought I knew. It took me some time. Then I began to understand what he's saying when he says, for example, all religions don't lead to the same goal. That's a kind of thinking that we have. Those words we use and we don't even understand those words. But we have formed certain conclusion on that. All religions are equal. And our conclusion, we want to defend it tooth and nail. And unless one can look at it with an open mind, this is one example only. Like that, there are so many things Shastra will tell you, which are different from what you think you know. Very different. One has to allow it to sink in. So tadupadishtam sarvantaramatmanam ahamasmi iti nibodhata. You cannot give up on this. I'll tell you something. Once you started on this path, even if some point you say, no, I don't understand, or this is not what I think is right, Sooner or later, you will come back to it. Maybe not in this Janma, maybe not in the next Janma. Sometime you will come back, because this is the truth. How can you go away from there? But at one point, one can say, this is so different from what I thought I knew. Either you can sit down and continue to do Shravanam and say, okay, let me find out why is the difference. And that comes from Shraddha in the Shastra. Or one can say, that doesn't fit me. Go away. But you'll come back. You cannot go anywhere. So he says, please put that thing on. Nahi upekshitamavyam
Nahi
Upekshita amavyam.
iti
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 shruti anukampaya
Shruti
Shruti
Anukampaya
Anukampaya
matruvat.
Matruvat
Is feminine and says like a mother with great kindness, great compassion. Anukampaya. Shruti recognizes that one could be tempted to ignore, to overlook what Shruti says. Nahi upekshitavyam. This is not to be overlooked, not to be given up. Upa iksha. Upeksha. Upekshitavyam. Not to be given up. And because it is not to be given up, Shruti is very kind. It recognizes there'll be a temptation to give it up. Nahi upekshitavyam iti Shrutihi anukampaya. With compassion, with kindness. Anukampaya aha. Matruvat. Like a mother would do to a child. Child will have its own ideas of what it wants to do, what is right, what is wrong, what it wants to achieve. A child's perspective will be very short term. I want that ice cream or that sweet or whatever. A mother will say, you've already had 3, you don't take any more. Do this instead. These days, there is a problem that all children are stuck to a screen, either a phone or a computer or whatever. One generation before, the parents tried getting them out in the open. Go and play outside. There was a time, 2 generations before, certainly my time, when the parents had to jabardasti bring you back in from when you're playing outside. Now it is ulta. Now they are telling them, go out in the open, play. The guy on one screen, this thing in front of him. But by now what has happened is that they have grown old to become adults. They have children, so they can't even tell them go out and play because they don't know. They have also grown up in the same system of watching everything on the screen. You know the standard comparison that you sometimes hear? There was a time when the mother used to feed the child, take the child in her arms and go and show the moon. See the moon, see that man on the moon, and feed the child. Now no child eats unless you give him an iPad. Moon, what moon? As it is, you can't see the moon because of so much pollution in this country. The moon is not even visible. But that kind of change takes place. Child has its own perspective. Like we have Balaha, our own perspective. So Shastra, being like a kind mother, not perhaps the kind modern mother, I don't know. Matruvat Shruti anukampaya aha. Nahi upekshitavyam. Don't give up. Don't let it go. Don't overlook it. Don't throw it away. Don't neglect it. Because this is ati sukshma buddhi vishayatvat.
Ati Sukshma
Ati
Buddhi
Sukshma
Vishayatvat.
Ye yasva.
Ye
Yesva.
So this is ati sukshma buddhi vishaya. We've already looked at the sukshma word. What is sukshma? What is sukshmataram? What is sukshmatamam? What is comparatively more sukshma? What is absolutely sukshma? That which pervades everything. Sarvam idam tatam. That absolute karanam for everything, for which there is no karanam. There is no cause. It is the very cause of everything. Even though you see that as cause of something which is the cause of something which is the cause of something else, really speaking, there is only one cause, one karana. So, ati sukshmataram. Ati sukshma buddhi vishayatvat. Therefore, if you remember previously, he said, you need a sukshma buddhi to see this. So Shruti helps us along. Matravat, because this is so not so easy to gain knowledge, ati sukshma buddhi vishayatvat, gneyasya, gain this knowledge. You have come this far. Continue at it. This sukshma itself, keep saying sukshma, sukshma, sukshma. We tried our best to try and elaborate on the word sukshma. What is sukshma? We keep saying sukshma buddhitvat. It requires a sukshma buddhi to gain the sukshma knowledge. Can you give an example? Can you tell me, make me understand, help me understand a little better, what do you mean sukshma buddhi vishayatvat? So that the Upanishad, through the words of the Imadharmaraja, Kim iva
Kim Iva
sukshma buddhi ityuchyate.
Sukshma
Sukshma
Buddhi
buddhi iti
Ityuchyate.
What is this sukshma buddhi? Kim iva, like what? The sukshma buddhi vishaya. Why is it that so much effort is required? Why is it that you require a guru for the sukshma? Kim eva sukshma buddhi ityuchyate. So he gives an example. Kshurasya dhara
Surasya Dhara
Surasya dhara
agram
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 nishita
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 tikshni krita
Tikshni
tikshni krita
duratyaya
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 dukkhena atyaya yasyaha
Dukhyena
dukkhena atyaya
Yasyaha
yasyaha
duratyaya.
Sa
sa
Duratyaya.
duratyaya.
For example, Shurasya dhara, like the edge of a razor blade. It is that subtle, that fine, that sharp. Shurasya dhara. Dhara is agram, the edge of a razor. Shurasya dhara, which has been sharpened, which is not blunted. Repeated use, it has not been blunted, it is sharpened. Nishita. So it is so sharpened. Sho dhatu, nishita. Tanu karani. Sharpened by, these days, of course, they don't sharpen them, they use it once and throw it away. But the older razor had to be sharpened on a regular basis. Nishita. Nishita means tikshni krita. Tikshni sharp. Tikshni krita. Sharpened. That kind of edge, the razor's edge, it is duratyaya. Duratyaya dukkhena atikramitum shakya, I said earlier. Acharya says, dukkhena atyayaha yasyaha sa duratyaya. Same meaning, which is very difficult to walk on. It's painful, difficult to balance. Although I don't think this is painful to the path that we are saying of learning is not painful, but it is tough. Duratyaya. That which is difficult to go cross it. Dukkhena atyayo yasyaha sa duratyaya. You're going to walk on this straight edge, sharpened straight edge. You want to walk on this. Yatha
यथा
sa padbhyam
सा पद्भ्याम्
durgamaniya
दुर्गमनीया
tata durgam
तथा दुर्गम्
Durgam.
sampadhyam ityetat.
Dukksampadyam ityetat.
Dukhena gantum shakyam. You walk on the foot. People walk on edge of blade, people walk on fire, people do all sorts of things. It's as tough as walking on edge of a blade. Yatha, like padbhyam, on the feet, by the feet, with the feet. Padbhyam is an interesting word again because you have, your word of conjunct consonants. When two consonants come together, Padma, Dakara, Makara, together. Padbhyam, Dvivachanam. Pa, da, ba, ya. So many consonants come together. Padbhyam. When we chant, even something like the Gita, usually people get stuck when these conjunct consonants come together. Two of them or three of them, it makes the chanting that much more difficult, needs more practice. This has so many together. Padbhyam. Yatha sa padbhyam durgamaniya. Difficult to go on. Dukkhena gantum shakyam. Difficult to walk on. Tatha, like that, yatha durgamaniyam tata durgam duk sampadhyam. Dussampadhyam. As difficult as that. The du usually indicates difficulty, negativity. Dussampadhyam ityetat. So it is not something which is easy to cross, like trying to walk on the edge of a blade. My God. Yatha sa padbhyam durgamaniya tata durgam dussampadhyam ityetat. Pathaha
Patah
Panthanam
Panthanam
Tat
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 Jnana Lakshanam Margam
Jnana
Lakshanam Margam
Kavayaha Medavinaha
Kavayaha Medhavinah
Vadanti.
Vadanti
The path Jnana Lakshanam Panthanam. This path, the Medhavi, the Kavi, they say it is as difficult. Requires commitment, requires Shraddha, requires Ishvara's grace, requires Guru's blessings, requires a lot of punya, all of which will help remove any obstacles on the way. Therefore, a lot of prayers. Pataha, I don't know why it's used pataha. Pataha is pathin, Dvitiya Vibhakti, Bahuvachanam, pataha. But there's only one path, and that is the path of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. This, where he writes as Panthanam. This Jnana Lakshanam Panthanam Margam is the path, and it's not an easy path. It requires one to remain on it despite obstacles, despite times when frustrating, saying, I can't figure out what the Shastra is trying to say, despite sometimes getting inputs which are so against what I think I know. With all that happening, keep at it. And then Shastra itself tells us that if we keep at it, you will get it. There is no turning back. Achirenadi gacchati, we've seen. Pataha panthanam tat tam jnana lakshanam margam kavayaha medavinaha vadanti. They tell us this is the way, this is the path. I have gone through it. I know what it is. I know what you are going through. I know the doubts that you have because I had the same doubts. I keep saying, when I first started studying, I too, like everybody else, had a lot of doubts. And I had the arrogance to think I'm a very intelligent person and can analyze and think and logically work things out. And people around me had reinforced that thought by telling me you are a person who does everything in 1, 2, 3, 4. Till I recognized that the knowledge that I'm trying to gain is not today's or yesterday's knowledge. You can question a scientific knowledge that has been developed and proposed as a theory 50 years, 100 years ago. Even today, you can question Niels Bohr and say, you said atom is the smallest. People did question. But this knowledge is nothing like that. For one thing, this knowledge is, God knows, tens of thousands of years old. And this knowledge has been passed on from Guru to Shishya. Many of which Gurus and many of which Shishyas are highly intelligent, highly analytical people for whom I can't even compare, to whom I can't even compare. Then you study people like Panini and you study people like Vidyaranya Muni and so on, and then you realize, my God, I thought I was very sharp and very this thing, and then you say, no, I better sit back and listen to them. Because all the things that you had, all the doubts you have, all the questions you have been asked earlier. So this Kaviya, this Medhavi, Kavi, they can look at you very compassionately and say, I know what you're going through. I've gone through that. Just keep at it. Pathaha, Panthanam, Tat, Tam, Jnanalakshanam, Margam, Kavayaha, Medavinaha, Vadanti. Jneyasyaati sukshmatvat,
ज्ञेयस्याति
Yesyasti
सूक्ष्मत्वात्
Tad Vishayasya,
tad vishayasya
Jnanamargasya,
ज्ञानमार्गस्य
jnanamargasya
Dussampadhyatvam,
दुःसम्पाद्यत्वं
dusampadyatvam
Vadanti ityabhiprayah.
वदन्ति
vadanti
इत्यभिप्रायः।
ityabhiprayah.
These Kavayaha, Medavinaha, Jneyasya Atisukshmatvat. That which is to be known, repeatedly saying Atisukshmatvat. Being not knowledge of any object, being knowledge of reality, being knowledge of that which has no further karanam, the reality of that which is I. Atisukshmatva, that jneyasya, tad vishayasya, to gain that knowledge, that of that knowledge, tad vishayasya, jnana margasya, gaining that jnanam of that vishaya, which is not an object, where there is, you cannot make out who, how do you say, who is knowing, what is he knowing, how is he knowing? You can't even ask that. There is no knower, known knowledge difference. It is the very cause of all three. That knowledge, that of that knowledge, atisukshmatvat, tad vishayasya jnanamargasya la shashti. Of that jnanamarga, they tell you about the dussampadhyatvam. Dussampadhyatvam vadanti iti abhiprayah. By giving this upamana of walking on the razor's edge, they are trying to tell us that this jnana marga, of this jnana marga, of knowing this vishaya, which is atisukshma vishaya, they are trying to tell us it is dussampadhyatvam. It's to gain this is not so easy. We can see why it's not easy. When you understand that we are not talking of any object, gaining the knowledge of any object in this jagat, even intangible objects, is relatively speaking easy. Tangible objects, very easy. Even if it's very far away, our own creativity gives us tools and instruments to study stars and planets which are light years away, and things which are practically invisible, high-powered microscopes. We can gain knowledge of all of them. We can observe them. We can analyze them. We can theorize. We can arrive at what looks like irrefutable fact, although eventually that will also change. But we can gain a lot of knowledge. How do you gain the knowledge of the self? Not by those means, not by those pramana. We need Shastra pramana. We need to be able to analyze this. Therefore, we need a sukshma buddhi. that buddhi can be made sukshma, a buddhi which is not perturbed, disturbed, that buddhi which has the quietude to receive, process that knowledge. Therefore, he said, Kavis tell us that by showing this example, it's not like any other knowledge that you can think of. It is one of a kind. That knowledge. Therefore, uttisthata jagrata prapya varan nibodhata. Get up. Wake up. You can reread Dakshinamurti Stotram again. You'll find a lot of this appearing there. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Yo Namaha Harihi Om